here, so meeting come to order, so I would like to ask the secretary to call the roll call
Alderperson Vitale,
here.
Grisham,
Here.
Reinke. Here. Grote,
Here.
Stefanski's excused. Four
Oh.
present.
So then I'll have the approval of the minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
The ayes have it. We start first with the hearing of Sampson's and complaints in the matter of the complaints against Aziz Bar LLC, David Zerati, agent of the premises located 6309 West National Avenue. DBA,
Come on, coming up.
you guys can come forward.
Okay, we have a number of people here. I don't know how you want us to sit.
That works.
You can sit there, sure.
That's six and
Yeah, okay.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Hello. Yeah, first I'd like to begin with the, my question is, you guys know why you're here for, right?
Yes, we do.
So, as far as I know, you guys will deny the Sampson complaints, or?
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yeah, go
On
ahead.
the previous date, they had admitted the allegations. So really what we're doing here today is discussing options or outcomes to the one offense or one item in the complaint.
Okay.
So one of the concerns I had is, I'm Brad Dagan, by the way. I'm an attorney, and
Yes.
I represent Z-Step, and to my left are Bruno and Dave, and they can introduce themselves. One of the concerns I had about admitting the terms of the complaint, there are a few things in there that are disputed. The owner and the bar manager will certainly agree that there was a problem on the night in question. Some of the details are not agreed to, however, that are in that complaint. So I think we want to make sure that that's clear, because there's a few things in there that are disputed.
Perhaps we should just go through the whole process from square one, Nick.
Sure, and I have no problem with that. My concern, and Rebecca advised as you see fit, so we had a previous date. I would have had witnesses present had there been something that was contested. My recollection was that the complaint, as it is on its face, was admitted to. However the committee wants to proceed, I don't mind going through it. It's just, there's not going to be a hearing today because of the record that was made in the last date.
Should we look toward postponing until we have witness, or?
It's up to the committee. My advice would be, if we want to go through it and discuss what the concerns are or what the issues are, it may be immaterial based on my arguments or what council is arguing. Completely up to the committee how you want to proceed.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Alderman Rowe.
Nick, why are the police here? For this one or the second one?
The second one, because
Okay.
this was uncontested.
Okay.
Well, at least my expectation was going to be uncontested. I don't have witnesses. They're here for the other one. This one
Okay.
should be quicker, I would assume, and then we can get everything else done.
The questions that I have, based on the report, I mean, there was some situation that did arise, that evening, which I believe that the police officer, they had to be called, and was really some chaos, I call it. Is that correct? So you guys kind of agree with that did occur? I mean, it's not,
Yes, we're not disputing it did occur.
you're not
That's correct.
disputing that in any way, right?
I guess
Maybe-
one thing, I'm not sure, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I guess the only thing, and we had talked this with our attorney before this, I mean, we want to, of course, accept not only responsibility that, of course, that something happened, but we want to assure the committee here and anyone that would listen to us about it, is we've taken steps since then, of course, to, A, not ever happen like that again, and B, prior to the things that we've done before this incident hasn't happened in the past, just because of the nature of our bar, the nature of our patrons, the nature of our normal activity. This was a night beyond normal for us, where we had individuals come late that never frequent the place, just happened to be at the wrong place, wrong time, and got together. And thankfully, too, the police at West Dallas came at the right time. I don't think I was the one to call. I was bar managing, and I dealt with the police when they arrived, and I was not intoxicated. As you see in the report, it doesn't mention my name at all, but I had a clear account of that evening and what happened and what I think could have prevented it. And if, hindsight, of course, I could have done things differently, where I would have
Sure.
maybe tried to separate, but the thing we want to ensure is that it became a chaotic situation, but if we didn't call the policeman when we did, I think it could have gotten a lot worse. And we know that it's such an isolated thing, that the way our patrons are, they aren't individuals that ever frequent before or have since at a bar. We made it clear to people that we knew through other people that knew them, to tell them that they're no longer welcome at our establishment. And it was just such a rarity, but we want to ensure that we've taken steps since then, of course, to ensure that nothing like that ever happens again. Because
Yeah, I think
Mr.
that,
Chair, if I may?
Yes, go ahead.
You had mentioned, your attorney had mentioned that there are items that you're disputing. What are the items
Just before we get too much further into it, can we get everybody's names
Oh,
and
sure.
spelling so that we can have that for the notes?
good.
well, go ahead.
David Zarate. Arate.
Okay.
Then Henry, H-E-N-R-Y, and Bruno's the last name, and I'm the bar manager.
So your last name is,
Bruno, B-R-U-N-O.
and your counsel?
Brad Dagen, D-A-G-E-N.
And Nick Serwin for the prosecution.
And I'm Attorney Rebecca Hammock. I'm also an assistant city attorney. I'm here to advise the committee.
Great. I think one of the things I wanted to emphasize, that this case involves a small family-run business. 5 years ago, Dave and his wife Pat bought the real estate and the fixtures from a bar that was in place there before. They took it over and changed the format, turned it into a friends and family, sort of a neighborhood pub. It's a much different clientele than the prior operator, so they don't want to be confused with the prior operator of the premises. They've run this place for 5 years without any incidents. They have not had to call the police on any occasion whatsoever before this incident. And the people that came in at about 1:30 in the morning and caused this commotion are known in the community to be kind of rabble-rousers, and they're not regular customers of this establishment, and they have been banned from coming back in there. So I think they've taken steps to prevent this from happening again. And this did happen 4 months ago, and it has not happened since. One of the main things I was concerned about was in the statement in the complaint that there was the sale or vending alcohol to intoxicated persons, or that they're keeping a premises that is disorderly, riotous, indecent, or improper, and that is operated in a manner that constitutes a public nuisance, basically. And that's one of the things that we mainly object to, is that this is operated as a family and friends establishment, sort of a neighborhood pub type place. And one incident in 5 years and 4 months now, we are hoping does not tarnish the reputation of the owners and operators. And I think they're as upset as any community member could be, if not more so, because they take pride in how the place is run and how quiet it is. Dave told me that the worst event that they've had in the past is that they've had some Bears fans present in the bar during a Packer game, and there were a couple of disagreements over who should win the game. But no fist fights at that time, no fights. So they've really worked hard to maintain that image, and they do have a policy that they don't serve anyone who is intoxicated. They also make very liberal use of the Safe Ride program, and they call Ubers on a regular basis. And they actually frequently will pay for the rides home in case they do see somebody who is intoxicated. So they take steps to avoid that. So my main goal is, in having seen cases over the years for a number of establishments here in West Dallas and in Milwaukee, is to make sure, and hopefully make sure, that they get a fair shake and have their story told, so that if anything, we would ask you to consider issuing a warning rather than a suspension, or certainly not a revocation. And I say that only because I'm experienced in these matters, unfortunately, and know the case law, and I'm sure Attorney Serwin does too, and Attorney Hammock does as well. But my main goal here is to kind of protect their interests as owners of a small business and a friends and family type establishment, and make sure that the board understands that that's how they run the place. This is an anomaly. It's very unique. They're as upset about it as anybody in this room, if not more so, because it's their place. They take it personally. So they're angry about that this happened, because that's not how they run this place. So I'm going to quit babbling, but if you had any specific questions, I'm sure Dave or Bruno can respond to that. And but I wanted to make sure you understood that background. And I think that's mainly why I'm here.
Sure. I like to address the fact that this body is not here to tarnish any relationship with any business, in West Dallas, really. It's not the question. So I heard you say tarnish the relationship with their business. It's not the issue here. The issue is consequences, they do occur, they come up. So our job is based on the charges, based on what we get in front of us. So we have to react upon. And totally agree. I mean, I'm sure they're running a great business. And myself really, based on, if any committee members has any questions, think we should go on closed sessions or just move on with this, based on the assessment, the information that I read, so that's up to the committee members. If you have any questions to come to a conclusions, to
Mr. Chair, if I
Yes.
may. Attorney Serwin, do we have anything to corroborate the fact that this has been an isolated incident? Do we have any record of any other violations in the 5 years that this gentleman, Mr. Z, has owned this bar?
I was going to ask for a chance to speak to what council said, so I was going to comment on that.
Absolutely.
I looked back during the license period or close thereafter, and so I can't speak to the entire 5 years, but this is the only offense that I alleged in the complaint because it's the only one in at least approximate time to this that I would think I could allege ongoing or related events. So this is the only one. I would agree with that. In regards, and if I could continue briefly, is that okay, Mr. Chair? The dispute being the place was run as a disorderly, riotous, or indecent or improper house, and then selling to intoxicated persons. That's the underlying two offenses. That's what's being alleged, and that's what's being disputed then. So my concern is if we need to have a hearing, and that's completely fine. I have no problem with that. If the issue is going to be that there hasn't been an incident like this in the past, and that if the individuals can impart upon the committee that they have been taking precautions and this is an isolated incident. Another option the committee could find is, and I'm not sure how Rebecca would feel about this option, but maybe place that on file, and this would be something that we could consider in the future. If there's another conduct similar to this, I would re-allege these same offenses. Completely up to the committee. There's surveillance video that we could show if there's a hearing. I would say that the surveillance video is some of the best I've seen in terms of quality. You guys have really good quality surveillance video, so that's great. I don't think that's a condition that would need to be added on, frankly, if the committee were to resolve something, because there's lots of camera angles and it's pretty high quality. I wish a lot of places had that, so it's really good. But this is the only incident. It's a bad one for the day it was, but this is all there is.
Thank you.
So any other questions?
Mr. Chair.
Right, Alderman Rowe.
Who, I couldn't tell, it just says the police were dispatched. Who called?
I called the police.
Okay.
I called the police when I was unable
And then,
to separate the individuals involved and the
What kind
amount
of
of people.
Okay, what kind of music do you guys play down there?
I'm glad you asked that, thank you, because I was going to mention that, and I didn't get a chance to piggyback off of our attorneys mentioning, but what we don't do is we don't have DJs on the weekends. We're not that kind of bar. If other bars want to do that, good for them, but that's just not our environment. So what we don't do is we don't have hip-hop or rap music on our jukebox. It's a filtered internet search base, and we've
Okay.
just done that. And you can find all kinds of Motown if you want, but there's just not that kind of music on there. And, we don't cater to that crowd. It's just not our vibe.
And then what was going on before?
What was going on
Like
before that day?
5 minutes before? Like
It was just a normal day. We had some regulars there. That were at the
nobody
bar.
playing dice or arguing or?
No, well, there's shake of the day and stuff like that they do, but no arguing, nothing like that. No, it was a normal, I guess, Saturday with some of our patrons that are regulars that actually a couple of them tried to assist in breaking up the melee,
And then
but
you,
none of them, if I could say, also were involved in the complaint. None of our regulars are in the complaint or were charged with anything outside of this.
and then you were talking about over-serving, and
Correct,
everybody that was arrested that night was highly intoxicated.
correct.
David Zorati, who was in the bar when the fight broke out, but he was extremely intoxicated, that's you, and not able to provide a description of what occurred and who was responsible. You're the one in charge.
Right.
And you were highly intoxicated.
Well, I was drinking, I'm not denying that, but I wouldn't say I was highly intoxicated. I assist the officer down.
Well, no, you're right, it wasn't highly. They wrote down extremely, I read that wrong, extremely intoxicated.
Well, I took the officer down to show him where he could record, he had his live
video.
pad or whatever, he took video, and I'm gonna took him downstairs.
But again, you're the one in charge, and then
Actually,
everybody they dealt with, and they name all of our police officers that were there. Everybody they dealt with was highly intoxicated.
Correct. Yeah, the individuals.
Everybody.
The ones that were there.
It wasn't like they found one guy that was like, could drive everybody home. Everybody was highly
Other than
intoxicated.
me, of course. I
And
was-
it's against, and it's up here, where, young lady,
That's not true, because I wasn't intoxicated, I wasn't even drinking, and I was there.
I think at this point, we should probably adjourn so that Attorney Serwin can have his witnesses and also have a chance to
Okay.
confer with counsel. I think that makes the most sense.
And that's a great point. I mean, what I would say is I was bartending, I'm the bar manager, and I was not intoxicated. I dealt with the police immediately after that, and I called the
If your
police. and I
suggestion
was
is
breaking up
amenable,
the fight.
we
You
would
could see on
stipulate
the
to
video,
putting it
just
on
talking about,
file.
Okay,
I'm
we can-
involved the whole way.
We
It
can
wasn't-
talk, I'm not sure what it'll forward.
Rebecca, would you need someone to make a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Okay, I move to adjourn.
Second. Adjourn?
Discussion.
Go ahead.
Basically, I recall the previous bar owners, and it was a very troubled bar, and there was a lot of problems with that bar.
Correct.
So I was kind of taken aback finding that which of you are the new
He's
owners?
the owner and his wife.
He's the owner and you're the bartender?
Bar manager, yeah,
I see,
yes. But I was bartending that evening, yes.
okay.
And I was there, and I wasn't drinking at all.
And she was in the basement, monitoring and just being
I
involved,
see.
and she gives Dave a ride home. He was at the bar as a
I
patron
see.
that evening, paying patron, and she was there to give him a ride home.
Okay,
So when the police arrived, she dealt with the police, and she was
And
in the
I
report.
talked to the police.
okay.
And she was actually injured and then.
I see,
they
thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you.
However, as an owner, you aren't showing a very good, responsible part of the business, and I would chide you for that. An owner should be a responsible person that takes care of the bar as well as he should be. So I was taken aback when I heard or read this report, obviously. Now you have indicated that, or it was indicated in the report that the people were intoxicated. Intoxicated. Did they come in intoxicated, or were they drinking that they became
I could say
intoxicated?
the larger of the group that became involved in the melee, they all came as a group from somewhere, I don't know. but
So they
the thing
came
about-
in
Well, see, the
intoxicated.
thing is that they didn't show visible signs of being intoxicated. I didn't know. I mean, I guess you could assume at 1 a.m. somebody's probably had a cocktail
Okay,
before
and the
then, but-
lawyers indicated that when they're intoxicated, they aren't supposed to be served any
Right,
liquor.
exactly,
Is
exactly,
that
yeah.
true?
Yes, that's true, but also
Okay.
they teach us as, for our responsible beverage class, they have to show signs of being, you can't just assume somebody's intoxicated because it's 1 a.m. They have to show
Yes, I
signs of
understand that.
At the what I could say is at the time when they came in our establishment, they didn't show any signs of being highly intoxicated or any kind of behavioral things that, they came in respectful to me, they were respectful to our other customers immediately. It wasn't until they just happened to clash with another group of individuals
Mm-hmm.
that was there, not at our bar, but like on the side of the bar, when everything became out of control, and then I tried to
And it appeared
separate.
to the police, according to report, it sounded like there were gang members that attended that evening.
Those individuals, again, that may have had some sort of history with the ones that started, I couldn't tell you for sure. We were not
Right.
involved or could
Well,
pinpoint
it sounds
why they
like
started
they
arguing.
became very, very combative.
Right, exactly. With
Very
each other
combative
and
to
the
the
police when
point
they
where you
arrived.
could not handle them any
Correct.
longer, and that's when the police were called, I
Correct.
take for granted.
Correct, once
Okay.
it became the women and men
And I was
started.
glad to hear that your attorney had indicated that they don't have frequent police calls at this particular
correct.
bar.
That's
And
correct. We do not.
do you find that?
Yes, I do find that, yes, we do not
Okay.
have frequent, any kind of interaction.
Do you have any security on site at all?
We don't have man security at our door because of our capacity isn't very high. We
Okay.
generally don't have more than 15 people there at one point.
I see.
On a more occasion, and as I
And what,
mentioned,
what is the composite of your trade, basically?
It's a sports bar, it's a sports pub. We don't serve food, but we do have snacks and pizzas and whatnot. but
Okay,
we don't-
is it, would you call it a neighborhood bar? that
More of a friends and family
The
bar.
neighbors
No, more of a friends and
frequent
family
it?
bar. As a matter of fact, after this happened, we found out that these individuals that were there lived not too far from the bar. So they may have just looked at it as a last place to go to have a drink or before they went home. So in their eyes, it's a neighborhood bar, but most of the people that frequent our bar are more friends and family, people that are close friends that we've been in the business. And Dave and I played pool leagues and with West Allis of people that we know that are other business owners, other bar owners that come and have a happy hour, drink or two, maybe watch a little bit of the ball game, and they go home. We close early a lot. If any of them drive by our bar during the weekdays, we're very rarely open past midnight because most
So
of our
would you
patrons are
indicate
more.
basically that most of the people that come to your bar come for a few drinks and then probably leave?
Yes, most of
That's
them
all.
maybe watch the ball game. We're local sports fans. We love
Okay.
watching the Brewers, Bucks, Packers.
So
and
when
that.
you view a person that you feel is intoxicated, would you still serve them?
I would not. No, I would not. No, I would offer them water, see if they needed a ride, but
Okay.
decline their business. And we do that unfortunately pretty often. Mm-hmm. And then we also don't allow panhandlers. Anybody comes in that's asking for, we actually have a strict policy that you have to purchase a beverage to use a restroom because we've gotten people off the street that ask to use a restroom pretty often.
Could-
and we try to
Would you
avoid that.
indicate that if you had a problem occurring every weekend, would you possibly think of getting security?
Yes,
Definitely.
definitely. Yes, if that was
I
something.
feel we don't, I guess this is the one time deal, we've never had this problem before,
Right.
you know, where everyone went out of control.
This is a one-time
Yeah.
in
I
5
would
months?
definitely-
5 years.
5 years,
I would
I'm
definitely
sorry, 5
consider
years?
security, I definitely
That's
would.
commendable.
Right.
However, my concern was the patrons that were fighting basically the police.
Right, right. And
And
also,
that's,
again, after what we found out through word of mouth of some of our patrons that knew these individuals, stated, and I'm not besmirching them, but they did tell us that they've gotten in altercations in other bars that they knew of. They were like, well, that doesn't mean, I can't believe they came to your bar. Yes, I've heard of them do this somewhere else. And of course, we heard that. Well, they weren't welcome back anyway, but once we heard that, that made sense to us a while.
It sounded like they even had to chase one person down to get him.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, they just weren't very cooperative at all. And-
Right. Did you ever have them return to your bar, any member of
No, not
of
since.
these
No, we made it clear to the people
particular
that we knew them,
parties?
to let them know that they're no longer welcome at our establishment. We have a one-time rule for that. Anybody ever gets in any kind of altercation like that, they're no longer welcome.
Okay. Are you the only bartender
But
of the bar?
No, we have others. No, we have others.
You
They
have
his niece-
several.
It's a family-run establishment, so his
My nieces
nieces,
and
nephews help out.
Okay. Are you on site every night?
Most of the time, yep, yep.
Yes.
And sometimes he bartends, too.
Do you habitually drink
No,
to the,
no. I had a bad news that day, and I know I overdrank that day. I just got some bad news. My cousin got that corona, and he was very sick, and we weren't sure if he was gonna make it. I know I overdid it that night.
I see.
But
Okay.
anyway, we do have an emotion to
Yes.
delay the, all the
Okay.
hearings for different dates. I believe we need a second. Any seconds?
Either that, or
You
are we gonna
seconded.
look, are we gonna look to a closed session for further
Want to
discussion
do a closed
and
session
make a
tonight?
decision?
That's up
Okay.
to you guys, whatever
Why,
you guys
I-
determine.
You've answered all the questions I had. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
thank you.
Did you wish to go on closed sessions to determine
Yes,
the welfare?
yes.
We Need a second? Well,
Well, protocol would be if there's a motion on the floor, that has to be, was there a second for it?
yeah.
Am I following protocol?
Correct, and if there's
Yeah.
not a second, then
There
that
wasn't a second, so
motion
now we can-
fails.
Okay.
Motion
I
fails,
made the,
and
mo-
you're
yeah,
making a
I made the
motion?
motion.
And I'll second that.
All in favors?
And this is for what, closed session?
Closed session, yes.
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. We'll be in closed sessions at this time. So you guys can step out for a while.
You're gonna move into closed session right now before the next hearing, or are you gonna,
No, we can decide after.
It's up
We
to
can
the
decide
committee.
after, I think we can take care of that one, you know, then we can do it both together. I think it'd be better that way.
Okay.
Make more sense.
Hope you don't
Thank
mind, we
you.
just gotta wait till a little longer.
Okay, good. Do you want us to
So, 'cause,
remain?
yeah, it sounds like you're
In case
gonna,
there's
I didn't, yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. And we can chat in a second when I'm done with this one real quick too.
Thank you.
So now, I'm going with the,
The TNT.
yeah, the TNT, 5906 West Burnham. There's assumption and complaints in the matter of complaints against Minto OT LLC, Tina M. Minto, agent for the premise located on 5906 West Burnham Street. D/B/A TNT Sport Bar 2021 Class B Tavern license. So is Miss Minto, she's here?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Ms. Mento.
Yeah, you were here last, I believe, a couple of weeks ago, right?
Correct.
So based on the charges that occur that date, I mean, you're aware of that, right?
From July 26th?
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
So, Nick, you gonna follow up with that yourself, or?
I believe, I have witnesses available today. I believe Rebecca has a script we basically run through on these just to make sure we check all our boxes and we'll go from there.
Go ahead.
I'm Assistant City Attorney Rebecca Hammock. This matter is a hearing being held before the License and Health Committee of the Common Council of the City of West Dallas. This license hearing is being held pursuant to Section 125.12 of the Wisconsin statutes in the matter of the complaint against Mento T LLC, Tina Mento agent. Let it be noted for the record that the following committee members are present. Title and name, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, let's without a chairperson.
Suzette Grisham, Vice Chair.
Dan Road, Alderman.
Ms. Rinke.
Alderman Menke, yes.
One assistant city attorney is prosecuting this matter, that's Attorney Serwin, and I am acting as an advisor to the committee. If you could state your appearance.
Last name Minto, M-I-N-T-O, first name Tina.
Nick Serwin for the City of West Dallas.
Ms. Minto, the nature of this hearing is for the committee to make a decision as it relates to the complaint against you, which has been filed with the committee under the provisions of Section 125.12 of the Wisconsin statutes and Section 9.0220 of the West Dallas Municipal Code. This hearing has been convened for the purpose of determining whether any of the charges against you are true and to make a recommendation based upon that determination. The committee will examine all the evidence concerning the charges through inquiry to both sides. The committee will evaluate and then impartially weigh the evidence. It will determine whether or not any of the charges have been proven solely upon the evidence introduced at this hearing. This hearing is open to the public. A verbatim record of the proceedings is being made by audio recording. You can be represented by an attorney. Assistant City Attorney Nicholas Serwin is here as the prosecutor and will present the case against you to the committee. I am present and will serve as a legal advisor to the council, the committee. I am here to advise the committee on questions of law and procedure and may also direct questions to witnesses myself on behalf of the committee. You, Ms. Mento, can present evidence, call and examine witnesses, cross-examine witnesses against you. All witnesses will be sworn, including yourself if you wish to provide testimony. Both the complainant, that is Attorney Serwin, and the licensee are limited to 1 hour each for presentation of testimony, not including cross-examination or questions from the committee or city attorney representing the committee, myself. The chair may extend the time for a presentation of testimony to assure a full and fair hearing. Subject to a motion for consideration by the full committee made by a member of the committee, the chair has the final ability to rule on all questions, objections, and motions, admissibility of evidence, and similar issues. All objections, questions, and motions should be directed to the chair. You may testify on your own behalf in regard to the charges against you. However, what you say will be considered as evidence. Further, if you do not testify, you may not be cross-examined. If a charge or charges against you are proven, you are advised that the committee may recommend to the Common Council that your license be suspended, revoked, or not renewed, and that the Common Council may accept or reject such recommendation and may determine upon such recommendation whether your license should be suspended, revoked, or not renewed. So now you have been served with a summons for this hearing today and a copy of the complaint against you, which has been filed with the committee for a determination. I now request the clerk to append as exhibits to the record a copy of the summons and complaint together with a copy of the affidavit of service. And we had asked you this previously, and I believe you had answered that, but I will ask again, do you admit to any of the allegations in the complaint, or are there portions which are not contested?
Oh, you asked me that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, some things I admit to and some are contested. Correct.
Okay. What specifically do you admit, or what do you specifically?
The hookah, when we were talking about the
Okay,
lanterns.
okay.
I'm sorry, that was an admit to the hookah side of things?
Correct.
Okay.
Which paragraph is that, do you have?
It would be paragraphs,
6?
no,
Oh, I'm on the wrong thing.
Yeah, paragraph 6. does.
7.
6.
It's 6 is what I'm seeing on the complaint.
Okay. I'm not sure why mine is different, numbered differently. I have, is that the August 10th?
Yes.
I have 6 on that.
Yeah, the August 10th one. Is that what you're referring?
Yeah.
That's what you're referring to?
6, mhm.
Okay.
Section 6 or number 6.
Yes.
All right.
And is that the only part that you admit to then?
There is two other ones with the, but my numbering, I have no idea why my numbering would be different on a signed document than the one you have.
Do you have the other parts that you're admitting to?
The,
It would be 14 and 15 on mine then, which would be, I would assume, 13 and 14.
the hookahs.
Yes. So 13, do you admit 13?
Smoking hookah. Yeah, that's all, the hookah, yeah.
And then 14 also references the hookah.
Mm-hmm.
You're admitting that one as well?
Correct.
So at this time, Attorney Serwin will present evidence as to the contested charges before the committee.
Thank you. Officer Vanden Boogard is here for those 2 or 3. I'm going to have him go home then, so he doesn't have to hang out here anymore.
Yes.
Is that okay, Ms. Minto? You don't want any testimony on that?
Sure.
Okay. And then the city's going to call Officer K. Yeah, you can go.
You sit over here, officer. Yes.
Wherever you want. Do you fit in that one better or this one? It doesn't matter. That one probably with the poster. Sir, can you state and spell your name for the record?
Jacob K, Jacob Kaye.
Do we need to swear?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Officer, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, now can you state and spell your name for the record?
Jacob K, Jacob Kaye.
How are you employed?
City of West Dallas Police Department.
And how long have you been a police officer? How long have you been with the City of West Dallas Police Department?
Coming up on 9 years.
All right. Were you working back on September 27th around 1:45 in the morning?
Yes.
All right. And around that time, where were you dispatched to?
TNT Bar, 5900 block of West Burnham Street.
City of West Dallas?
Yes.
State of Wisconsin?
Yes.
All right, and why were you dispatched there?
There was a call for 10 to 15 people arguing, screaming, or yelling.
Okay, when you arrived on scene, did you see those people?
When officers arrived on scene, we observed individuals leaving the bar. As we were in the area, a large group started to mass outside of the bar, and it started to disperse down the eastbound down Burnham, where it appeared that there was like there's a large group, but within that large group, there's two groups of people who were arguing and yelling at one another.
Okay, and you still could see them arguing and yelling?
Yeah, so that happened east of the bar on Burnham, maybe in like the 5800 block, so a block over.
All right. Can you tell if they came from the bar or not, though?
It appeared that they had come from the bar.
All right. And they were
From
still
the
yelling?
TNT bar.
Okay, thank you. And they were still yelling at the time when you were on
Yeah,
scene?
it appeared that there's two groups of people who were in an argument that had exited the TNT bar, and to prevent a further escalation of this, potential fight, or who knows what's going to happen, I requested several officers to come down to assist. A total of 8 officers responded. We didn't take any police action in regards to, detaining anyone or arresting anyone. We essentially had all these 8 officers down there. We turned on our emergency lights. I got out of my car. A couple other officers got out of the car and told everyone to knock it off and go home for the night. And that essentially is what happened.
That worked.
Nick, if I may, officer,
Yes, sir.
our police department was aware of the fact this event was going on that day, or?
This is not the car show. Not yet.
Yeah, okay.
This is
Okay, but basically it falls in the same category.
right, that's kind of just
Okay, that's
the
fine. Go
pattern,
ahead,
that's all.
go ahead, Nick.
That's all. I have no further questions for this officer at this time. Ms. Minto, do you have questions? Does the committee have any questions?
I do not. You covered the questions
No,
I
I
had.
don't either.
All right, that's it. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good?
Yep. City calls Claudia. Yep, Margerano. All right, thank you. Claudia, I'm going to have you swear in with the city attorney over there.
Raise your right hand. Do you,
If it's up to her. I think you're fine with
you don't
raising
have
your
to
right hand.
stand. Okay. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Claudia, can you state and spell your name for the record?
Claudia, C-L-A-U-D-I-A, Martorano, M-A-R-T-O-R-A-N-O.
All right, Claudia, do you own a business in West Dallas?
Correct, Burnham Bowl.
Burnham Bowl. And where is that located?
Excuse me, 6016 West Burnham.
All right. How long have you owned Burnham Bowl?
2001.
Okay. So you would have owned it back on, let me get the exact date here, July 26, 2020?
Correct.
All right. Around that time, July 26, 2020, or a few days beforehand, do you remember there being an event or something happening in the parking lot of your facility?
Yes.
All right. What was it? What happened?
What happened?
Yeah.
It was chaos.
Okay.
When,
I'll ask, here, I'll get
I
to
don't know
some
where to
questions.
go.
Sure, yep.
Okay.
All right. Prior to that event taking place, I guess what part of the event that took place, the 26th, on July 26th, did that kind of overflow onto your
oh,
space?
definitely.
All right.
Yes.
Prior to that date, then, prior to the actual event taking place, days before or whatever it may be, did anybody approach you to use that space?
Tina came in on the Friday before that.
Okay.
That event took place on a Sunday.
On a Sunday, so 2 days before the 26th being the 24th?
Correct.
All right. So Tina, and you pointed at Tina, Miss Minto.
yes.
You guys are
I
business owners?
never saw her before.
You haven't, okay.
And they haven't since.
Okay.
Now.
Got it. And You were approached by Tina to do what?
To use the parking area across the street for a fundraiser.
Okay, was
She
that,
said she was given permission to use the parking lot across the street.
okay,
I said, what parking lot? As you may or may not know, the city owns a small portion of the lot right next to the one duplex or whatever that is, and then there's a small section. First, I thought that's what she meant. She said, no, I'll show you. I said, I don't have time right now, I'm busy. She said, I can see that, I'll come back tomorrow and talk to you.
okay. And was that the end of your discussion on the 24th?
Pretty much. I was really rude to her that night. I really was, so I just,
All right, and so 24th didn't go over so well. Did she return?
yes, she did. She came back on Saturday. I apologized for my rudeness. She said it was a fundraiser for, I think, the Rescue Mission and one other, I can't, Salvation Army, something or
Okay.
another, I don't know.
Some sort of fundraiser. Did she talk about her bar at all?
She said she's had fundraisers in the past in her bar, but she felt this one was gonna be too big for her bar to hold. That's why she wanted to use the parking lot across the street.
Okay. Did she ask to use your parking lot as well?
Yeah, I said, who gave you permission? She said she had permission. I said, don't you have to get permission for that? She said, I have permission. I said, from who? I thought, I've never done an event with the bar. I was under the impression you had to somehow go through somebody to get permission to do an outside event. Tina said she had permission. I was like, okay, it's a weekend. Who can I even call now to find out what the heck is going on? But I'm like, well, it's a fundraiser. Forget it. Go ahead, use it.
Were you approached by anybody other than Tina to use your space?
No.
Okay,
And not at any other time nor since.
okay. So no one's ever asked, but, so no other organizer came up and asked you, do you know anybody by the name of, well, I guess answer that one. No other organizers came up and asked you for permission?
Correct.
Okay. Have you ever heard of the name or met a Tyrone Henry?
No.
Okay. And what's your impression of how Tina was involved with the planning or
I
organization?
don't know. I
Okay.
didn't see Tina at all that day.
Okay,
I asked people, the traffic on Burnham was crazy. The traffic on 60th Street was crazy. Dinette Showcase called me, asked me what the hell I was doing in the parking lot. I said, I don't know what's going on over there. I repeated to him what had happened. He said somebody from the board told him that it was a function that Burnham Bowl was holding, which I don't know how that happened, but, because we didn't have anything to do with it. But his business had to close for that day because nobody could get into it. My business, I had a tournament, it's a bowling alley. I had a tournament going that day. I had to stand out on Burnham in order for people to get out of my lot. When I asked people not to park in my lot, I got sworn at. I was told, how do you know I'm not one of your customers? I'm like, well, if you are, come on into Bolden. The only customers that came in were to get water and use the bathroom from apparently your porta potties didn't show up that day, I think, or something. And that was the only,
the day of, so on the 26th, you were at your bowling alley then? Okay. Did anybody else, any other organizers or anybody talk to you about the event? So the only person you talked to before this happened was Miss Minto?
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't have any further questions. Does the Miss Minto, do you have any questions?
I just have what I have here.
Okay, and you'll have a chance to talk about whatever you have or whatever's going on.
Okay.
Yeah, Nick, I mean, myself being the older person from the district, I did receive that they, and really I was shocked because I couldn't answer those people what really was happening on Burnham Street because there was no permit taken out, nobody knew anything about it, you know? So people come and say, what's going on Burnham, you know? Well, I says, I have no idea, really, I don't. So, and to me, it was not a good thing, really, at all. That's all I have.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
I have a question for you, Claudia. You said prior to this, you did not have any interactions with Tina before. She did represent herself as the owner of TNT?
Correct.
Okay. And she did state that, did she state that this was her function, that she was
That it
organizing?
was a fundraiser for her bar. well, no, that it was a fundraiser for, her bar was running the fundraiser for the Rescue Mission and Salvation Army, or whatever it was.
All right, and the use was to be in conjunction with Dinette Showcases parking lot?
No, I knew nothing about Dinette Showcase being involved at all until he called me.
Okay,
I mean, he was with no parking because all the cars were there.
okay, so the overflow basically went
He
into your
said there were
parking lot?
approximately 200 cars out there that day in his, I don't know if that was the entire area or,
And he had to close his business, and this impacted your business
couldn't get
adversely
to
as
him.
well? Okay. All right, I don't have any further
Any more
questions.
questions from the older persons?
Mr. Chair, are you the owner of the bar?
Yes, I own TNT Sports Bar.
I'm sorry?
Yes, I own TNT Sports Bar.
You own it, you own it?
Correct.
Okay. Are you considered, let's see, there was a question regarding the liquor license at the TNT.
in my
I
name.
think she's gonna testify in a minute, so do you have any?
She's not sworn right now, and so she hasn't testified yet. I haven't
Oh,
asked her
I
any
see.
questions yet, so we'll
Okay,
get a
I'm
chance.
sorry, so
It's
we're
only for
just supposed
Claudia.
to
That's right.
ask
Yep.
questions of her. So at no time, no one else approached you other than the owner of the bar. Is that correct? Right. And did we ever find out if all the monies that they made? Oh, I don't know. You didn't look into the charities that she said that it was for? No. Okay, you just were, you might say, she inquired of you if she could use your lot, and that was it? Yes. Okay. I initially told her no, Friday night, because I was mad. Right. And when I got home Friday and I got to bed, I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? It's a fundraiser. Just let them use it. Because as I mentioned, I think 100 times, I was really pretty rude to her when she first came in. Because it was the whole, I had permission, and I'm like, well, who the hell gave you permission to use my lot? Was mine. I believe exactly what I said to her, but because it was a fundraiser, I thought it was no big deal. She said she was going to have food out there, and I didn't know it was going to be the magnitude it was. I see. When we were watching it progress, I really thought it was turning into some kind of a protest thing because of the magnitude of it, and thank you.
If I may, I have some clarification based on the questions. So you said Ms. Minto asked if she could sell, you said food, or did she approach you about items she wanted to like vend or sell? Or
I thought she said she was going to have food.
I can't talk. Can I talk yet?
you can ask her questions, and you will be able to present your case after I'm done presenting too. Yeah. Did you say, okay, so did you say food or water, or do you
Yes,
recall? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Did you get any, I know I asked if somebody had approached you about it, did you get anything in the mail? Did you get anything from anybody else about hosting an event there?
No.
Nothing else, okay, that's all.
No, my daughter saw something on Facebook, and I believe that's the copy of, no, where did you find that, Katie?
Next door.
On the Nextdoor page? And that's when she said, I think this is what had happened yesterday. Was that yesterday? By then it was Monday. And she said, I think this is what was going on.
Okay. I have nothing further.
Thank you, Claudia, for coming, you know.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
City calls Officer Jesse Maxwell. I'll get him. He's out there. Claudia, you can go if you want, or you can
Thank you.
stay. Unless the committee has any need for, or you have any need for, that was your chance to ask her questions. Do you have any questions? You have those, you're gonna talk about those,
When you testify.
Oh,
right?
well, I don't know.
Or you can ask her too.
Yeah, I don't know, well, we all got, on our side of the street and across the street, this is what we got. I don't know if she got one of these, but apparently I don't think she got one of these.
Okay.
So I don't.
No, we never got that.
Officer, take a seat.
Might as well just stay standing for a second and raise your right hand.
Officer, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Sir, can you state and spell your name for the record?
First name is Jesse, Jesse. Last name is Maxwell, Maxwell.
All right, how are you employed?
Police officer for the city of West Dallas,
And how long have you been a police officer for the city of West Dallas?
approximately 6 years.
Were you working as an officer back on on July 26, 2020?
Yes, I was.
And what was your shift on that day?
I work from 3 to 11.
All right, is that your normal shift?
Yes,
Is that your shift right now?
yes,
Okay, so you're working.
yes.
All right. Around, what is it, 4 o'clock or so, were you dispatched out to a call for service?
Yes, one of our officers was out, I believe, on a traffic accident and got flagged down regarding a fight involving a number of people in the area of 60th and Burnham. So a number of other officers responded to that area. We did not locate any physical fight that stood out. However, there was hundreds of people in that intersection and cars on foot. And then it appeared that there was some sort of event being held in a parking lot in the area, and that's where the people that had congregated were associated.
About how many people do you think you saw in the area?
I would say in the private lot, there was approximately 100 plus people out on foot, probably 50 to 100 plus cars. On the side streets in the area, there was probably about a 4-block radius where I would imagine there was at least another 100 to 200 people out on foot, probably another 100 plus cars in the area, both parked and driving.
What did the nature of the event appear to be to you?
We weren't really sure there. When we first pulled up in the lot, there appeared to be a food truck, looked like maybe an ice cream truck. They had like a tent set up, like you'd see at a fair, like a full, large metal posts, canvas tent. It was amplified music, like maybe a DJ or somebody that had a large sound system set up. But then outside of that area, I mean, it looked like maybe there was a car show because there was a lot of cars parked with the hoods up and stuff. But it kind of carried over into the side streets and the sidewalks, and then that was a little less of a gathering type feel, like an organized gathering feel.
Did you see any areas for like collections or donations?
I did not.
Okay.
Nothing that stood out.
Okay. Nothing apparent, like this is the
No.
donations table or
Not
something?
that- no, not that I saw that.
All right.
We also didn't really venture in there too much.
Okay.
So I didn't get too far in.
Did you observe the individuals who were attending the event doing anything specific or particular?
Yeah, so as we were monitoring the area, I contacted my sergeant and just kind of let him know, like, hey, we have this large event apparently taking place down here. Usually we're warned of that stuff ahead of time to kind of expect it or kind of in an area where they would be. That had not happened. When I let him know, nobody at our department was aware of anything that was going to be taking place in that area. So my sergeant responded down there with a couple more officers, and then we basically just tried to determine who was in charge of this. The people that were out on the streets, just in the time that I was monitoring it until he got down there, I observed numerous people drinking beer, out walking around on the sidewalk in the street. A couple of them were throwing beer cans at the squad cars when we drove by. A lot of people smoking marijuana. You could smell that pretty much everywhere. A lot of people blasting music out of their cars, both while they were driving by as well as the cars that were parked on the side streets. Not a lot of kind words for the officers that were tooling through, or at least for me in particular. I can't speak to all the officers. So that was kind of what was going on in the neighborhoods.
Do you know if there's any other calls for service prior to you getting out there?
Yes, when I went through and I looked, it looked like there had been 3 prior calls to service that day in that area for reckless driving, and noise complaints were kind of the main issues that had come up.
So you get there, you see this big event going on, and you got to figure out, or you said you were going to try to figure out who was running it or what was going on. All right. And so I guess where do you start then?
So essentially the gathering portion of it, or the more organized portion, seemed to be in a parking lot that was just to the north of Dining Furniture Showcase.
Okay. Did you talk to that person?
Yes.
The guy who owns Dining?
Yep.
Okay. Did he have any idea who was running it?
He said that there was some gentlemen that came in during the course of the day and identified themselves as the people kind of running it, but he didn't have any like specific names or, that guy right there per se.
At some point or at any point, did you identify a person that was the organizer or potentially running the day?
Yes.
Who was that?
After we finished up talking to the owner of Dining Furniture Showcase, we went outside, and I have to refer to my report. I think it was Tyrone Henry is his name.
If your report says Tyrone Henry, would that be accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
So we went outside. We were met with, there seemed to be two kind of different groups of people that were saying they were running the event. One seemed to be kind of providing security, and one seemed to be the one that was doing kind of the logistics of the actual event. Tyrone seemed to be more on the logistics portion of it, saying that this was for charity, it was a car show, and that they were trying to raise money for a charity. They didn't really expound upon what that was or where it was going.
Did Tyrone say if he was affiliated with any organizations or businesses in the area?
He did not. They had, him and the gentleman that he was with had like shirts that had some sort of like YouTube, I don't know a lot about YouTube, but some sort of like site on YouTube or a place that you could go for cars and car shows.
Okay.
But other than that,
All right.
I don't recall him specifically saying anything.
Did he tell you anything about obtaining consent?
So he told us that they had gotten consent from the person who owned the property, which they later told us was the bowling alley across the street.
Okay.
They'd also mentioned that they had talked to the owner at Dining Furniture Showcase and that they were okay with that too.
All right. So when this Tyrone Henry identifies, okay, we got permission from these people, did you go talk to the dining, or not dining, Burn and Bowl owner?
Yes.
Claudia Martirano?
Yes.
All right. And she's here present, right?
Yep.
All right. And so when you spoke with Claudia, who did she say she gave kind of consent to or permission to?
Claudia mentioned that she had been spoken to by the person that owned TNT Sports Bar, that she only knew as Tina. She said that she had approached her a couple days earlier asking if she could use her property to host an event for charity, and she thought it was maybe the rescue mission.
Okay. And then we're putting the puzzle pieces together here. So where do you go after you talk to Claudia?
Yep, so then we headed over to TNT. I had dispatch checked to see who had the liquor license for that establishment, who the owner was, or, associated with that, if we had anybody named Tina. They got back to me relatively quickly and said that a Tina Minto was associated with that and was the person listed for the liquor license.
And was Tina at the bar at all?
Nope.
Okay. Who'd you talk to at the bar?
So I talked to a gentleman who identified himself as Lamarcus Young. He told me that he was the co-owner of the bar. I brought up why we were there in relation to the car show that seemed to be happening down the street. He pretty much said he didn't know anything about that and it had nothing to do with his bar.
Okay.
He showed me a Facebook, something on Facebook that was like a flyer advertising it, and pointed out that it had nothing to do, like didn't mention his bar on there anywhere. I gave him my business card with my email. I said, yeah, can you take a screenshot and send that to me? And he never did. I asked him who Tina was. He said that Tina had not worked at the bar since October 2019. He said he co-owned it. I think it was with his brother. So when I confronted him about why she would still have the liquor license under her name and not have worked there that long, he didn't really have an answer other than he said he just didn't get around to updating it.
Eventually, did this event kind of get shut down?
Yes.
All right. How so?
Initially, before we kind of started to follow up with some of the neighboring businesses, my sergeant met with Tyrone as well as some of the other organizers and basically explained to them, listen, we've got numerous complaints in the area. As best we can tell, you have no legitimate reason to be out here doing what you're doing. You need to disperse as quickly as possible. We tried to be reasonable with them. They wanted to finish like some awards ceremony, and we pretty much told them no, like you need to start getting everybody out of here now. And then in the process of us going to Burnham Bowl as well as TNT, they pretty much started to kind of do that. We heard them make announcements over their little loudspeaker and kind of try to move people along, but just due to the sheer numbers, it took a while to get everybody out of there. We had to close a couple streets off just to get everybody out.
All right. I have no further questions for the officer.
Mr. Chair, I have a
Yes, go ahead.
question. Officer Maxwell, At any point, did you have any conversations with Ms. Mintos at the site at all, or was
No,
anybody able to give you information to contact her?
No, Lamarcus gave me a phone number that he thought was associated with her, and then we had her in locals, so we pretty much just documented. I mean, the whole purpose of everything we did was more or less just documenting the nature of it. So I didn't really try to follow up with her per se regarding it. But no, at no time did I run into anybody that said, oh yeah, that's Tina over there, you can talk to her.
Okay, and I have another question. Were there any injuries as a result of this, or any, obviously there was a lot of chaos from the description.
Sure. So the only medical response we had was towards the end of everything winding down. It was actually for Mr. Henry. He seemed to be having some sort of heat-related issue, so we requested an ambulance for him. I don't recall if he was treated on scene or if he got transported or what the nature of that was. But other than that, there was no injuries that were reported to us that we came across.
Okay, and the brothers that own, or that are operating TNT,
Correct.
they stated this was not their event whatsoever.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the committee members?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
at any time, did you arrest anyone?
No.
Okay. Did you observe any fighting going on?
We did not when any officers were on scene did we observe any physical altercations take
I
place.
see. Okay. At this time, can I ask Tina?
She'll have a, not quite yet.
Not quite yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So Officer Maxwell, I mentioned early that that afternoon, I mean, I received about at least 6 calls from people living on the sideline of Burnham, you know, based on the fact of the park there and the loudness of people, what they're causing on Burnham. And I really felt, I mean, I used the terminology stupid because I was not aware at all, because we never really issue any permits for this type of events, whether it's a fundraiser or whatever the reason was. So to me, it was not really appropriate. And the police department just as well was not informed, aware just as well.
Yeah, that was a large chunk of the time was us trying to kind of piece together, like, do people have permission? Should we be like, how, we didn't want to push too hard, too fast if somebody actually had a legitimate reason to be there. And then obviously trying to track down who would that be and from where, because, I mean, even based on the level of where it was, even if it was a, like, dining furniture showcase, hosting it themselves and the guy saying, I want to run it, we weren't totally sure that that was okay either, just based on what was happening. So, yeah, there was a lot of confusion.
Thank you, Officer Maxwell. So
I have no follow-up. Ms. Minto, do you have any questions for the officer?
No, I just got what I had.
You're chomping at the bit for your turn.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I was there, and, but nobody ever came up to me or anything like that, so, I don't know.
Did you see Ms. Minto there?
Not that I recall, no.
Okay.
I mean, we were kind of all over the place, but, I mean, there's a lot of people, so no, not that I recall.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
in the past, Officer Maxwell, if there was a big, let's just say, big party at Nathan Hale High School, at your roll call, they'd be telling you, hey, guys, there's something going on here, be on the lookout, drive around, something
Yes.
like that. Okay, thank you.
I do have a question. The officer stated that he did talk to the organizer, and the organizer did confirm that he was the organizer of the event when you spoke to Mr. Henry.
Tyrone Henry, yes, he identifies himself as that.
Okay, I just want to make sure. That was it.
Nothing further.
So thank you, Officer Maxwell, for stopping in.
Nope, I don't think we need the officer present
No,
any longer. Thank you.
I think we're done. So at this time, I would like to ask the committee members that.
I'm sorry, I'm not quite rested yet, Mr.
Oh,
Chair.
go ahead.
Could I continue? Is that okay?
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Ms. Minto, I'm going to ask you a few questions then, if you don't mind, okay?
You think I know it by now. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Minto, can you state and spell your name for the record?
Minto, M-I-N-T-O, first name Tina, T-I-N-A.
All right. How are you associated with the TNT Sports Bar? Or, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, TNT Sports Bar I've owned for the last 6 years.
Okay. And so you are the current holder, you are the agent for the liquor license, is that correct?
Correct,
All right. How long have you been the liquor agent?
6 years,
All right, so the entire time?
yes.
All right, very good. Did you get a copy of the summons complaint provided to you? Were you served with that?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
It's one of these.
All right. Number, since the numbers, I honestly don't know what happened with the numbering, or how my
you want my
signed
copy, Mayor, or
copy.
the
Sure,
next
just for reference, I guess. It's fine, never mind. There's an allegation that the entity Minto T LLC, that's who actually has the liquor license, correct?
Correct.
All right. For a little bit of time there, it was administratively dissolved. You took care of that, it looks like, right?
Correct, and the reason for that is when COVID started back in March, I had called the state of Wisconsin to see how we were to pay taxes and what we were supposed to do, because I have 2 taverns, and one sole proprietorship, and one was Minto T LLC, and wanted to combine them, and they said you couldn't do that, you have to let this one go, leave it as sole proprietorship. I said, okay. And so they sent me a card, I called again. And then they said, you'll have to reinstate it, and I reinstated it, and they said you could put the sole proprietorship into the Minto T LLC. So that's what I did.
It's all good now, is all I was asking, right? Yeah, you
Correct.
took care of all that stuff.
Yes,
All right,
it's
very
right
good. I wanted to make sure that was cleared up because it's in the, yep, very good.
It's right here.
All right, so the September 27th, that's the Officer K had testified to that one. That's where the 8 cops show up and everybody leaves fairly peacefully and
Sure.
nothing was happening. Okay, were you working that night?
I was not working that night, I was on call.
Okay,
I am a mortician, so I.
hence the name
work-
tag.
Oh, I forgot.
That's all good.
I am a mortician with COVID at the moment. Obviously, we see the deaths on TV. I get a majority of those deaths, especially working with Milwaukee County Medical Examiner's Office. And so I was on call that night,
Okay.
so I was not there. On days
Were you
that
made aware of that?
I was told of it, and that there was a group of people at closing, and like the officer said, there was 2 groups of people. There's 3 bars that are closing down at that time in that neighborhood. I don't know if how they came about, or if there was a conflict between 2 of the bars, which is legitimately 500 feet apart. I don't know. Nobody said anything. I did ask the other owner. The other owner said he didn't hear about anything going on out there. So it might have been just a group of people leaving between the 2 bars. It looked like a big mass of people. They all dispersed.
Who did you have working that night? Do you remember?
On the
at your-
27th? No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't know who was working.
All right. And then,
And I believe actually I had, that particular night, I think I had rode by there, and I did see police on the corner of 59th facing northbound, and I actually had walked into the bar. There was nobody in the bar, but I did see people both ways on Burnham, and I said, we got to make sure that there's nobody in front of the bar and everybody goes home in a timely manner.
how many people do you have working at the bar on any given night?
It depends. We have security that is now working there, so
Now, was it at the time of?
no, not at that particular time. But that night when I had gone in there, there was two bartenders.
2 bartenders, all right.
Correct.
How many people generally do you have working, I mean, if you want to count security too, about how many people total do you have working any given night?
3.
3 approximately? Okay.
2 to 3.
2 to 3.
It's a
Excellent.
smaller tavern, so
Yeah.
you don't need that many
All right, and
at both areas. I only have 2.
we can kind of just get rid of the hookah stuff quickly here, but you talked to me previously about the hookah stuff, right?
Correct.
Okay. And I think you made a statement last time that you had some confusion or whatever it may be, or you were waiting for an answer from the city on what was allowed and what wasn't allowed, correct?
Right, because they had said tobacco products were not allowed, which this is not a tobacco product. It is a mash of fruits
Okay.
And so there's no tobacco or no nicotine. So we didn't, it's not like smoking cigarettes or smoking a pipe or smoking a cigar. There's no tobacco in it. We called several times, myself, I called 3 times. Somebody was always supposed to get back to me to see if that was different because there was no tobacco and no nicotine.
So,
So when we
for
were
those, so those you were operating, you assumed or you believed at that time that you were doing something that was appropriate, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I can,
Since then, they're gone.
okay, so you had them removed?
Yeah.
Excellent.
And I even talked to the city, well, including yourself, you know, about putting that area out back because of the screwy way, the whole nother situation, but putting a outside patio, if you will, out there that could seat and keep COVID distancing because it is a large section that we own.
And then you can work out with the city for
Yeah.
hookahs and stuff. I'm just asking for this
Yeah.
purposes. All right.
So they're no longer there, they're not on the premises, nothing of the sort.
Now, the biggest issue then, so this big car show or whatever happened there, I guess, explain to the committee your involvement.
Okay, so essentially, like a month before this car show was to take place, I got this in my mailbox. I have an office on 60th. The businesses on 60th right there, we had these, including the neighbors in the houses. There's a duplex next to my office. The people across the street got it. So I read it, I do myself, between TNTs and hangovers, food drives. You bring in 3 non-perishable items, you get 1 free drink. We do clothing drives, I've done clothing drives, and I do for Alice, St. Vincent de Paul, and I've done for the mission rescue, the rescue mission. And so I had this and I was like, well, this sounds like a good idea. I even called this number. I asked them, did they get permission to do this? And they said that they did.
Do you know who you talked to?
I talked to somebody representing King Hollywood. King Hollywood. I didn't even know his name. I didn't know his name was Tyrone Henry.
Okay, but do you know if King Hollywood and Tyrone Henry are the same person?
I think so.
Based
don't
on
know.
what?
Just talking to the person on the phone.
Okay.
I didn't talk to him in person at the event,
Sure.
but talking to him on the phone, I assumed that was one and the same person.
Okay, did he give his name or he didn't?
No, I just went off of the flyer.
Okay.
And so I called my landlord, where my office is, and I said, they're having an event here. I want to piggyback off of this. Do I need to talk to somebody? And I said to be in the back parking lot, because I knew they had a list of vendors that were coming. They had like popcorn thing, ice cream. They had a food thing coming. And I said I could do soda water and Gatorade. And I did do that. And I actually did donate it to Alice. And I do have they sent me back a thank you letter in their letterhead and everything for donating that money. It was $343 worth of water and Gatorade.
Okay.
But my landlord told me to go and talk to the bowling alley because the bowling alley owns right behind where my office is. I said, okay. So that's how I met Claudia. And she explained to you the Friday when I went in, all said and done. I came back Saturday and I talked to her and we got to talking about everything. And I think how TNT's got thrown in the mix is because I told her I owned a bar down the block and I owned one in Milwaukee. But I didn't say that TNT's was holding this event, but I think that's how it got thrown in the mix. But I was going off of this too, and I was piggybacking off of this. And I made a copy, if you guys want to see what the flyer looks like.
I have no objections. So this event, so you had one phone call with the number for King, what was his name?
Hollywood.
King Hollywood. Sounds
And
like.
it says the 6th annual, and that was one of my questions. Did you get permission? He said he did get permission, just like he told the police officer. He said he got permission from everybody. I didn't think to question that. It wasn't my event, but I wanted to piggyback off of it and do charitable too, because I do it all the time. And so that's what I did. But I had enough respect when I called my landlord. I was like, she said, well, go and talk to the lady. I don't know what her name is, but she owns the bowling alley. And if you're going to be right behind the garage, that's her area. And so we were right against the fence on her area, and I did go to speak to her.
Okay, so you went on 2 different occasions just to ask her if you could sell water for this event that was taking place?
Water, soda, and Gatorade. She asked about food. We did say there was gonna be food there because it was on the list. There was a, they were doing like catfish or something.
Okay,
They were doing some type of fish, catfish and fries, I think they were doing.
yeah.
Like I said, we were doing soda. There was no alcohol that I seen because I wasn't selling alcohol.
So it was your one phone call, you weren't selling alcohol from your bar, right? So there's one,
No.
right. So
No.
there was one phone call you made, and then you made contact with Claudia 2 times.
Correct, Friday, and she was busy. She was setting up for some stuff, and was working with some prizes or some gifts and stuff like that. She was real busy.
Did you call the city at all in terms of this event?
I did not,
Okay.
because it wasn't, I didn't think I had to. My landlord just told me to go and talk to the bowling alley.
And why did you think you needed, if you weren't running the event, why did you think you needed permission from Claudia to use the bowling alley parking lot?
Because I called my landlord and I had told her what was going on, and she said, I said, well, I wanted to get in on this and do for Alice and do water and soda, because $350 for them is a week's worth of meals. They deal with 500 families. I do toy drives there. I do all different stuff.
Do you know who the fundraiser was for this event then, or is this not a fundraiser, it was just a car show?
To me, it was a car show. It didn't even say nothing about fundraising.
Okay.
So I said myself, I was going to piggyback off of it and fundraise for Alice.
Other than your phone call with the Mr. Hollywood on there, did you meet anybody the day of the event? You said you were there, right?
Yes, I was there. I didn't meet Mr. King Hollywood. I just set up, I had a table and with a cooler, 2 coolers. One had Gatorade in it and one had water in it.
So you didn't have, I mean, if you're, and I'm just surmising here, but you go to an event, you believe you're gonna set up a thing, you ask Mr. Hollywood if you could set up some table for water and stuff?
No, this was put on our doors.
Okay,
And I called him, and that's, I said, hey, I have an office in front. Obviously, this was in my door. I want to be able, can I do water and Gatorade?
and Mr. Hollywood says, sure.
Hollywood.
Hollywood, I'm sorry, okay, sorry,
And he said, sure.
masks. And so you show up there on the 26th, you don't have any contact with anybody, you just throw a table out there?
Yeah, because I had talked to Claudia, and I have an office there, so I just put my table and like a little awning thing, because it was very hot. And
Sure,
I
one of those,
put
like,
it-
just
Like one of
normal-
those
yeah, yeah, yeah.
tent things. And I put it up against the fence because that she said she had from the pole this way, the utility pole this way. So I figured there's trees here, I'll stay under the shade right here. I set it up and I sold water and Gatorade.
Did you remember seeing the cops walking around at all?
I didn't see cops there.
Okay.
But,
And they didn't see you either, so,
so there most likely could have been.
yeah.
I did not, I can't say that I saw them there because there was a lot of cars. And, you know, I was just amazed at how many cars are there. And then it said car and bike show. I didn't even see bikes there.
Who's
Cars.
LaMarcus Young?
LaMarcus Young was a bartender of mine February. And then we went into COVID. And then when we opened back up, he worked for 2 weeks.
He worked for, how long did he work in total at your bar?
About a total maybe almost 3 months.
Okay. Why would he have said he has no idea who you are, you're not associated with the bar anymore?
I don't know. I can't answer that. He did write an affidavit, and, I mean, I could show you if you want to see.
I can see it, but I don't know. It's up to the committee if they want to accept it, and with Rebecca if she wants to.
I mean, I've had it happen to me before. Somebody tries to want to look cool in front of their girlfriend or,
The cops?
no.
Well, I know, but he told the cops he was a co-owner with his.
Yeah, he's not, I've never had anybody co-own, did you want this? I've never had anybody co-own anything with either one of my bars. The one in Milwaukee, I'm going on 11 years. The one in West Dallas would be 7.
Did you end up, were you the person that hired LaMarcus?
I did not, my bar manager did.
Okay, so LaMarcus isn't even like the next in line?
No.
Or wasn't? There was a bar manager. Who's the bar manager?
My bar manager's a Marquise.
Okay.
My original bar manager, when we went through COVID, didn't come back because making more money on unemployment with and that was how a lot of my employees were. They were making more money with the extra money you got back from COVID on unemployment rather than working in the bar atmosphere and making tips. They were making more that way. So that's how that works. So I don't know exactly why he would say something like that. I'm in there Monday and Wednesday every week. I do my machines. You have to do your machines once a week. I'm there. I'm the only one that has keys. I'm there. I do my machines once a week, and I do my inventory once a week. And I
Okay.
do that at both bars.
So you're in there once or twice a week?
Right. Today, Monday, is my inventory day.
Mhm.
Obviously, I'm not at either bars doing my inventory. I stop at T&T's first because they're closer to my house because I live in West Dallas. I do my inventory, then I do my ordering on Tuesdays for beer, Wednesdays for liquor, and then I go down to Hangovers and I do the same thing,
Okay.
Tuesday and Wednesday.
But you're not the bar owner that's sitting there every night, either
Drinking, no.
drinking or running stuff. You're not actually even there.
No, that's why I have a manager. I
Okay.
am there, I do frequent it, like my birthday party was there, which was the Saturday, or the Friday before we had COVID shut us down. So I do frequent there. I frequent both of my bars, but again, I'm a mortician and I'm a crematory operator, so I don't spend a bulk of my time in the bars. Both of my bar managers know how to get in touch with me, and they do get in touch with me. And there's camera systems in both areas. I've never had problems in West Dallas. I've never had problems in Milwaukee.
Is LaMarcus still working for you?
No, he hasn't been working there since July.
Okay. Why did he leave?
The bar thing wasn't for him.
Okay. Did you talk to him about this at all?
I did talk to him. I said, why, the police came in, and you said, well, I don't know.
And you had him probably draft up that
Yeah,
that
he
document,
said
right?
he was drunk. And I was like, well, why would you even tell the police that then?
Okay.
Nick, maybe I could have a question.
Sure.
It seemed to me that you been in business in Milwaukee, and of course on 59 in Burnham just as well. It seemed like you try to come across which you're not really aware of this. You're not familiar with the this guy that did promote or sponsor this event. So somebody just came out not knowing exactly what really has been happening. When we have an amount of exceed over 200 people and cars parked all over side streets, and you were there, and you seem like you didn't really knew this person really. You didn't really were aware who this person really was. Something just came up to you that you call. I mean, I've been around for a long time, and I've been in this council for a long time. And to me, I mean, you don't come across truthfully. I tell the truth. You don't come across truthfully. Sure. Because if you're a bar owner and you holding a license in Milwaukee or West Dallas, you promote just as well to have this event on July, I believe the 26th, to have this kind of a fundraiser, call it. And it seemed like you should know that we need permits to have an event, in the neighborhood.
Sure.
Then you say that the gentleman, that you were not around since 2019. You never really didn't know who you were. To me, that's a bunch of baloney. That's a bunch of lies, really, to me. In all fairness, I tell the truth the way it is. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much you can go around it. Many of those factors, they are reality that happens. Being aware, fully aware of this thing that occurred on July 26th. I mean, to me, any way you put it, you're not aware of this, you're not aware of that. To me, it's totally unrealistic.
Mr. Chair,
Well,
did you want to reply?
Yes, please.
yeah.
Like I said, this is in my mailbox, and several other people got it too. I don't mind donating my time and raising for different functions or different associations like ALAS or St. Vincent de Paul or even the Rescue Mission. I've done it a lot of times. I do it all the time. I just wanted to piggyback off of it. It wasn't that I created this event. I'm not a car person. I drive an old truck. I don't rebuild cars. I don't do any of that. Like I said, I didn't even see any motorcycles there. It was just all cars. I thought I was doing a good thing by raising some money and piggybacking off of it. If I knew that it was going to be like this, I wouldn't even ask. I have an office building in front. So I wouldn't even got on this.
So the fact is, if you would have came forward with a permit to have this type of events, maybe it could have been denied it. Say, that's.
I didn't, my
See,
understanding.
that's the
from-
bottom line, it's not the questions, somebody want to do something, but it has to be approved, a special event like that, you have to be approved by the council.
Sure, and
for you
I've
to
done,
have. So just to go ahead and do it and create a chaos in the neighborhood, which I got 6 phone calls, and a lot of neighbors says, well, we call for the rest of the neighbors. So a lot of people were disappointed on
I
both sides of the
apologize
streets.
that you got,
Some business places were disappointed just as well.
and I understand that, and I apologize you got those phone calls. Like I said, this was in my door, and I felt that I could do some good too. I didn't know that he didn't get permission or didn't get permits. I always hold a picnic or a food drive at Jackson Park. I get a permit every year. Every year I faithfully get a permit, and I do it the first weekend in July. The first weekend in June, every year. And I'm at the same spot, and I get a permit every year. It costs me $115 every year.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, but
I have several questions for you, Ms. Mentos. A couple things struck me odd in what you said. You said that you did not know who was working at your bar that evening.
If it's the evening that I drove by, then I know that my bar manager was there and my bartender was there, but I don't know if that's the same day. It could have been a different day, but like I said, there was 2 groups of people. There's 3 bars there, and there were people coming from all different bars.
Okay,
But when I
I'm
walked-
speaking of your bar. So
Sure.
you
There was nobody
specifically
in my
said you
bar.
did not know who was working that night, but you are the owner. Even with having a manager that you said, if I may have clarity from you, you said if there was a problem at the bar, your manager knows how to get a hold of you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so when the police came into your bar that evening, did your manager call you?
He didn't say that, the police officers didn't say that he came into the bar. He said that he had came there and that they had a presence there and that people dispersed. He called back up and that people dispersed. He didn't say that he never went into the bar.
Is there clarification, though, that your staff who was working that night was interviewed? Am I confused on that?
There's two different.
So maybe the
Yeah.
hookah night is what I'm speaking of, so that's why I'm trying to get
Oh, yeah, no,
clarification.
they didn't-
So
they
clarification was you did not get a call because there was no interaction with the
Right.
police that
And the
night in
police
your
officer said-
establishment?
Yeah,
Okay.
and police officer said there was none.
The first officer that was called talked about an incident outside. That's the night she's talking about.
Thank
where
you
she
for
doesn't
clarifying
remember.
that. Okay, now I know where I'm going with the question. So
Sure.
now going to having permissions from Claudia from Burnham Bull. Now, your permission, you went there specifically to ask Claudia if you could use her parking lot to put up a tent and sell water,
And
Gatorade, and soda.
Correct.
Okay? And how did you, in proximity to your office, you said you're right on 60th there. If that was an event that was taking place on this, in that area, could you have set that up? I'm confused at
It was
what
behind-
Claudia's parking lot was used for.
My office is here.
Mm-hmm.
This is my office. This is my driveway. I have my garage. And then there's a backyard and another garage. And this is Claudia's area right here. So there's a fence here. And I wanted to put a tent up here for water and soda.
Okay.
So this is
And
mine.
is that where you set up the tent?
Correct, right
Was in
here.
her,
On her side, on the fence.
on her side?
Yeah, because there's a pole here, like a utility pole, and she explained that she owns from here back.
Okay. All right, and I had other notes here. So you didn't go into your bar that evening, even though there was like chaos and whatnot. You stayed and just
The bar was not open, it was under construction. We were putting in a new ceiling and a new floor. I had people there, it was not even open for business.
Okay, well then that makes sense, because that wasn't noted, so
Yeah, it
TNT
was-
was not even open for
No.
business that evening.
It was, I mean, you could walk in, but it was under construction.
And when you met Claudia, you did not put yourself, you didn't represent yourself as, or did you represent yourself as the owner of TNT?
I did, when I first went in there, I explained what the flyer was doing, and I explained, could I use, and then we actually left and walked across the street, and that's how I found out what part she owns, and that's where I wanted to set up, was on that fence line. And we were talking about all different things. We were talking about the bar on the corner on 60th Burnham, Mario's old bar, opening back up. And I was under the assumption it couldn't open back up. And we were just talking about a lot of things. And then it got to the fact that I said, yeah, I own a bar in Milwaukee and I own TNT's down here. And I think that's how it got correlated. Yes, do I do fundraising where I get in canned food and stuff like that? Yeah, I do that there locally from customers, but I didn't, TNT's was not sponsoring this. I got this flyer in the mail just like everybody else did. It was on my door in my mail slot. But we were talking about a lot of different things. We were actually talking about probably 45 minutes to an hour, and we were talking about different things in the neighborhood and whatnot. And I explained to her that I own 2 bars. I was a mortician. We got to talking about that for a little while and stuff like that. We just talked about a lot of different things.
Okay, and when you were on site with, was there any situations that were in that parking lot that you dealt with personally as you were
Not at all.
using it? So Claudia came out and she was having a tournament of sorts, and her patrons were being talked to poorly and whatnot, and you were out there?
I wasn't over there. That's across the street.
Okay.
That's like, I mean, if you consider where I was with the water and Gatorade and soda, she'd be like 3/4 of a block. Like, you have to walk some more and then cross the street and then walk some more to the bowling alley. And I wasn't even there the whole time because I ran out of water and Gatorade. So I packed my stuff up and left. I didn't have any more water and Gatorade to sell.
Okay. I think that's it for now.
Any other questions from the committee members?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
you had the flyer that you are referring to. Basically, did you check on King Hollywood?
I did
Into
not.
his background before you?
No, I did not.
You got involved in this
I did not.
particular activity, you might say?
I did not. What I did do is I went on the YouTube, like the police officer said, because it's right here at the bottom. And this is a 6th annual event. So I kind of looked at past events and just saw that there was a car show.
Have you ever attended a car show before in West Dallas?
Not that I have, no.
I think you should have attended before. That's making a judgment. I know I'm not supposed to make a
I
judgment.
have attended some
But
in
there's
Milwaukee.
hundreds and hundreds of cars at our car shows, and you should have been aware, I would assume, that this would not be a one-lot activity.
I didn't set it up. I didn't
There's
even know how-
hundreds
Well,
that
and then
come to
here's-
car shows.
Here's the other thing. If you look on here, it says there's a $20 registration fee until 3 p.m. I had nothing to do with that.
That's
I
right.
didn't receive any of that.
Perhaps a lady of your, you might say, I take it for granted that you are a very intelligent woman,
Yes, ma'am.
and perhaps you should have looked into it a little further.
Sure.
You should have sought information about car shows.
Well, I have been to car shows in Milwaukee at
Okay.
Mitchell Park.
Okay,
at-
and you should have
at
been
Jackson
aware.
Park. I was aware that there's cars, but in Mitchell Park, I've been to several there, and there's 2 slots where you put cars, and it never overflows.
Oh, well,
I've just never been to one that was like this.
Maybe
Now,
I-
granted, I've never been to one of his car shows.
yes.
I just thought I was doing good by.
Even though you didn't know nothing about the person that was
I didn't.
promoting it.
No,
And have you learned from this?
absolutely.
So.
Did you seek permission to use the dining
I wasn't on the dining area.
business
I wasn't.
park lot?
I wasn't on the dining business area. I had
Okay.
a tent. When I talked to my landlord, she told me if we're gonna do it behind the garage that I rent, that I
Yes.
lease, to go and talk to the lady who owned the bowling alley.
Burnham
'cause
Bowl.
and that's who I talked to, was Claudia.
Okay, but you didn't talk to the dining people
Because I
at all.
wasn't on
You
that
had nothing
property.
to do with that.
No, I wasn't on that property.
Okay. Okay,
You know, Ms. Minto, you.
Oh, I have one more
Go
question,
ahead, go
Mr.
ahead,
Chair.
go ahead,
Sir.
go ahead.
You have never bartended at your own bar?
Absolutely, 100%. For years.
For 2 years, you bartended there?
4 years.
For
4 years.
several.
For several years, yeah.
For several
Before
years.
you purchased it?
Before I purchased on 59th and Burnham, I was on 64th and National, and I was there for 3 years. With the same bar. Never had any problems.
Okay.
At either location, I never had any problems until this COVID stuff and
Okay.
this, that I'm,
Does your bar, TNT, does it have problems?
I haven't had any problems, and like I said, I've been doing this, it's gonna be 7 years
Okay,
at TNT's.
I see.
I mean, you have your customers who really don't want to go home, but you kind of shush them out of the way. You got to go home, you can't stay here type thing. Same thing in Milwaukee, and I've been there almost a little over 11 years.
I see.
And I've never had any problems. You try to control your patrons the best that you can when it's time to close down the bar. You know, if they go 2 blocks away from me and then a ruckus starts, we're inside cleaning up. I didn't know, you know, we wouldn't know that something's going down 2 blocks away unless somebody makes us aware of it.
Okay. Will you ever get involved in a project like this again?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have some follow-up based on the questions the committee had. Is that okay?
Yeah, I have one more.
Okay, go ahead. I'll let the committee finish.
Yeah. One of the questions or discussion I heard from you, that you've been already involved with this type of car shows, right?
She asked me if I've been to car shows.
I mean, or just working with that?
No, I haven't worked with a car show. I've done food drives and picnics where I've had to get a license or a permit, if you will, at Jackson Park, where at the last 3 years, on file on record, I have gotten a permit. But as far as car shows, when she was asking me about car shows, I've been to car shows at different places. I haven't actively helped out or donated time or flagged down cars or parked cars or anything like that, or sold any beverages or any food or anything like that. I've just attended.
So based on what you said, you've been really familiar with, so what really happens on Burnham Street, you knew already, you know, in somewhat person that's sponsoring this type of car shows. You knew
I've
them
never
already.
been to one this big.
You know, maybe if it was another certain person, but you've been kind of in somewhat connected with that. I mean, that's my strong feeling.
Sure. No, I
that
understand
you're
what-
aware. That's why I said early, you keep going around with this committee, you know, I mean, and to me, based on what you said, it seemed like you contradict yourself by saying that you've been already.
No, it's 2 different groups, and if you'll let me
Well, I
explain.
mean,
it's
still, it's a group that provide this type of operations. I mean, any way you look at it. I
Well-
mean, it's a different group. I mean, it could be this group, could be that group. Still, it's a part of the operation
I have
events
never-
those people sponsoring.
Sure, and I have never met this gentleman before and never been affiliated with this group at all. Usually the ones at Mitchell Park, which they have one every Saturday or every Sunday, and they have maybe 20 cars, and they go by Children's House and stuff like that. That's it. And it's a group of Latino people, and it's just about 20 cars. And they have a taco truck there, and different cars come each week. So I've never been involved in something this big or even attended something this big.
You know, I know it's not part of but this is lingering with your license based on the fact of neighbors. You know, it's been some activity going on in your bar, some kind of dancing outdoors some weekends in which neighbors been complaining to me about it. You know, that there is some dancers, which to me, you're not licensed to have events really outside. You
We
never
don't
apply
have-
for any special permits.
No. We don't have any dancers outside. We don't have DJs. We don't have just like all of the other bars in the neighborhood, we don't have rap music on our jukebox. I control that. It is filtered. It's the same thing. So there's no dancers dancing outside.
But why on weekends, normally a lot of times they shut the power off in the tavern area in the front, and there's still things going on in the back. It seems like the bar is closed, but then there's something going on in the back.
There's nothing going on in the back. Nothing at all.
Well, I mean, I'm saying that's
There's
based
a
on,
parking lot back there, but we don't even park cars back there because there's a conflict of who's supposed to tar what. So there's nothing back there.
I'm familiar with that. I know there's nothing back there. But the neighbors are been complaining about this summer, about some of the activities that's been happening outside.
The only thing that I have heard from the neighbors over there is that people have been squatting. There's a section that you can't see. I know that somebody had almost overdosed back there, wasn't affiliated with our bar at all. It's, I don't want to say homeless people, but people who just squat there.
Yeah.
And they have 40-ounce beers, and because it's kind of hidden, they squat there. People are throwing furniture there, mattresses, all different stuff. I don't know if the squatters are squatting on that and doing drugs, and it's not our clientele or anything like that. I know I've talked to the owner at Rockstar and Dylan, the owner of Dylan's, and people are squatting there too and doing drugs, and it's really bad right there. But it has nothing to do with our three businesses, but we're not dancing out on the gravel out and back.
Well, I hope you're right, and I'm not saying, but based on some of the assessments.
There is
that I
activity,
received from-
activity going on back there, but it is not activity from the tavern. It's different. It's, I don't want to say vagrants. I don't know what to call it.
Well, we don't know that, so, but you're aware
I've
now,
known that
see,
because
because I'm aware about it,
I've
because,
gone out there and told the people they had to leave there before I called
Yeah.
the police. And I've seen a couple of the people there several times. And they'll either squat in between by Rockstar or by Dylan's where he can load in because now he loads off the street instead of loading through the back because people squat right there. Or they squat, I got a cement thing where the garbage can's supposed to go in, they squat there. And they drink 40s and
how many times, I mean, like I said, I mean, I don't want to waste more time. How many times you have your garbage disposal container picked up? I mean,
We were
once a
doing it-
month or once a week?
we were
or-
doing it twice a week. But now there's a conflict because the alley is not an alley. So the garbage men cannot go down the alley
That's the
because it's
truth.
not an alley.
Yes.
But I've never had a problem in the 4 years that I was there until probably the last 4 months, 5 months.
All right.
Because they're saying it's not an alley. I guess what happened was the city decided to say that the back had to be tarred or paved. Well, the gentleman who owns half of the building does not want to do that. He said he's grandfathered out. So now because of that, I didn't realize that he owns the alley, which is not an alley. So he doesn't want nobody on his alley. But that's the only
Mr. Chair, if I
thing.
could,
Yeah.
we have had a discussion with this,
No,
and this
no,
is a
wait,
building.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
the building
Let's
inspection
stop
department,
there.
yeah.
So-
It's a private drive, basically. The
Right.
property lines are really funky back there, but
It is.
it is what it
really
is. yeah.
sad. But anyway, let's close this portion now, and I would like.
Mr. Chair, if I could just have some brief follow-up, or if
Go
the
ahead,
committee
go ahead.
does.
Hold on. But-
No,
but-
actually, Nick wanted to.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. So real quick, so for clarification, so this incident with Lamarcus saying that he's the owner, he stopped working there in July of 2020, so this was July 26th. We're saying like days later he stopped working there?
He hasn't been working there, since the beginning, about the third week of July.
Okay, because this is,
By the time August come, he was no longer there. And it was because he was drinking behind the bar, and it was like.
this is July 26th though, and he was still there at that time, right? Okay.
He quit like right after that because we had to let him go because he was drinking behind the bar.
All right. And is it true that you told Claudia that you've had fundraisers at T&T, but this one was too big for your bar?
No, that's not how that conversation went.
All right, what is
When I said fundraisers, that means people can bring in 3 non-perishable food items and get a free drink. People can bring in a bag of clothing and get a free drink. I do that at both bars every year.
Did you say something along those lines? This is too big for your bar?
No,
Okay, you don't know where that came from? All
I
right.
don't know where that came from.
And then in light of the allegations here, everything that we talked about today, What, if any, changes have you made to your establishment to make sure stuff like this doesn't happen, or your involvement, whatever you want to say at this point? I want the committee to know where you're going forward.
Sure. Well, we added security, and then I put up more security cameras. I have a contractor to come out and put some up outside. We just had them inside, but I have a contractor coming to put them outside
What's your timeline on that?
within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then,
So added security cameras to the exterior.
we'll have the security, we have a security company. One person will be at the door. No more than 25 people can be in the bar at any time. We proposed on closing down the bar an hour before everybody else. That way we have no problem. If the people want to go to another bar, then they go to another bar. It's just not going to be mine.
And this, you said it's a private security company?
Yeah,
Okay. How long have you had them?
we just contracted them
All right, like
within the last
the 17th, we'll say?
week or so.
All right,
5.5 hours.
okay.
Yeah.
So be mindful, we've talked about this,
Yeah.
but be mindful of who's working security, okay?
Yep.
All right. I have no, go ahead.
The hookahs were removed. They're not on site unless, till I see what we can do with the back portion. I'm still maintaining doing inventory, and Mondays and Wednesdays I'm there. I don't sit there and drink. I don't have time to sit there and drink and partake with the customers in that fashion. And my other thing is I'm just open up to any other suggestions that you might have outside of what I've done here. And like I said, I don't have a problem with closing an hour earlier with state guidelines. It's 2:30, we'll close at 1:30. If it's 2 o'clock, we'll close at 1 o'clock. I don't have a problem with that. With the added security there too. And the added cameras.
I'm not the committee's advisor, but I did broach the subject with City Attorney Decker, and he just cautioned limiting hours of operation as a condition. Wisconsin Statute 125.32 and some change kind of curtails some of our ability to do that. It might be a gray area that we can do if somebody agrees to it, but I'm just passing along what Attorney Decker said. I'm not advising the committee. I don't have that role here today. Does anybody have any follow-up for Ms. Minto then?
No, not at this time.
I was a little confused when you said that the bar wasn't open, but obviously the officers went in the bar and interviewed. So were there people in there or not?
Yeah, our ceiling was down and our floor was up, so they were bringing materials back and forth. So the bar doors were open. They were bringing material. Nobody was drinking. Everything was on the bar. You couldn't drink or anything. The whole thing was.
Except for Lamarcus,
For what day?
the day
The
that
day
the
of the
place was
car
ripped
show.
open, right?
No, the day of the car, you're confusing two different events now.
Okay.
The day of the car show, no, we were under construction. No, there was nobody drinking in there.
But you said Lamarcus was drunk. That's why you told them.
When you guys, the police officer asked him about what he was doing, that he said he was owning
Yeah.
the bar, but that wasn't the case. He doesn't own the bar. He's not a co-owner, none of that stuff.
Right.
But he was inside the bar.
He was in the bar because the people were in there working. But there was no patrons in there or anything like that. It was just, we had our floor tore up, and, you can go in there, our ceiling was down. We had a flood upstairs, and the ceiling was completely fallen down. So we had to redo the whole ceiling and all of that. The walls on that side, the flooring.
I have no further questions.
This time.
I do, Mr.
Go ahead,
Chairman.
go ahead.
Why would you have a bartender there for contractors?
To let them in, we had to have somebody sit there. So that it wasn't just a free-for-all.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if the committee wants any closing statements by me or argument or by any parties. I'm happy to give one, or I know we're getting a little long in the tooth as it is, so it's up to the committee. I have arguments if you want to hear them.
I would like to hear them. Would you like to hear them?
What?
I would like to hear the closing statement.
Closed session, okay.
No, closing statement. no.
Closed statement, go ahead.
Thank you. And Ms. Minto will have a chance as well. I don't want to have something that you don't have. But, so, I think the thing here that's concerning most to me as sitting in the prosecutor's standpoint, is that Miss Minto comes across really well. And I've had conversations with you many times about how you run your business. Since this has started, even before that, with the garbage and stuff, you come across so well that these incidences and occurrences seem odd. My assumptions are that things are getting loose over there, or maybe too loose. Maybe you're just spread a little thin and COVID's been tough or something's going on. I'm not trying to make excuses for you, but that's how I'm viewing this, is that there's some bad decisions being made, maybe people that you're trusting to run the bar for you in your stead, people that are getting involved, or whether it's going to be security or management or your bartenders or things along those lines. I wouldn't be surprised if money's walking out the door from that standpoint. If people are stealing booze from you, I've got concerns for you. So I'm seeing you come across really well in these kind of hearings, and then I'm seeing these kind of loosey-goosey operations with the bar, and it strikes me as two different things. So I'm not sure if LaMarcus thought he was in control because he never saw you, and all of a sudden you have this scenario where there's kind of, you're just a silent partner not really caring what's going on, and that's what I'm concerned about, because I think you could do a good job on it,
Sure.
but it needs to tighten up. And it sounds like the things that you've been doing, and I guess I would posit to the committee that the things that she's doing are in the right direction, but I'm going to keep a really close eye because I'm concerned that things haven't curtailed quite yet.
Well, I've changed management,
Okay.
so that was part of that too. I listed that on there.
And so, and I'm not making any judgments against you personally. I'm prosecuting the offenses here. So we have the argument out front, which I think is a product of the management not getting rid of people and starting stuff. We have the hookahs, which I think not management necessarily is you, but you are the one that's ultimately answering.
Sure.
There's the hookahs, which is we haven't quite gotten our answer yet, so we're just going to proceed as we see fit. Which is, I guess, if you did call partially in the city, and also you got to make sure that you're doing things by the law, because we can't advise you. It's going to be ultimately your decision on how to proceed. And then this whole situation with the car show, I'm undecided on that one part, and I guess I would argue to the committee, you can see it two ways. One, nobody else asked permission, at least from Claudia. It was only Tina. And this is an event that's run so loosely and kind of poorly that no city officials are informed of it. It just seemed kind of slopped together. Clearly there's a flyer that went together and a lot of people got it because a lot of people showed up. And so is this a kind of conglomerate of, hey, let's get the businesses involved in the area and see how we can make this thing huge? I guess I don't foresee it, and I'm not arguing really that it's something that Claudia is necessarily, not Claudia, I'm sorry, Miss Minto is necessarily kind of the face of, but I think based on how many times she goes over there, I think there's certainly an argument to be said that she's involved, or at least was displaying in a way that she was involved in this. If that's one side of the hat or coin. On the other side of the coin, there is kind of what we've been talking about, and what I'm arguing is that it's kind of run too loosey-goosey over there right now, is that she's not checking up on stuff. It's just, maybe there's just too much going on, but it's got to get cleaned up, and I'm concerned if it keeps on going this route, either something bad's going to happen, or you're going to end up losing your license if you're not going to lose it immediately. And so I guess, regardless of where we go here, if this isn't going to be a revocation tonight, I'm just going to make a plea to you that it's got to tighten up as much as you
Well, and that's,
consider.
on the form that I gave him, I put down 90 days. I'm all about action plans and, you know, that's why I listed that 90 days.
I have no further.
You agree on the closure of 90 days?
No.
Well, I mean, that's,
Closure,
What I'm saying is,
renewal.
you
Yeah.
know, the turnaround, 90 days if you don't see fit, then that would be the ramifications of, you know.
I think what she's saying is that she's
I understand.
proposing a plan of operation that she will change, and we won't see as much stuff going on, and she's kind of giving herself a timeline of 90 days. If we see an event that happens next weekend and it's sufficient to issue another summons and complaint, there'll be another one and we'll do the whole thing again, regardless of 90 days or whatever's agreed upon. Yeah.
And if I may add one more question, just for clarification, you said you are there every Monday and Wednesday now?
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
You have a new manager, you're there Monday and Wednesday for inventory?
Inventory and doing my machines.
Okay, security cameras in 2 weeks, you said?
No, we have
Outdoor?
securities.
Right, but
We have-
additional, you said?
Additional.
Outdoor within 2 weeks?
Yeah, I can't put any, I can put one on the gangway, but I can't put one on the other side because that infringes on other people's business.
Right,
I did ask about that too. So they kind of were not,
okay. And
Like,
how many additional cameras are you putting
so
on?
there'll be 2 out there.
2 outdoor, and how many do you have inside? 4. Do you have security that works inside?
They work the door,
Okay.
so.
Is that every day of operation?
We're not open every day,
Okay, what are your hours of
so
operation?
just the weekends.
You're only open on weekends?
So it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
And just for clarification, is security there on the weekends only then, Friday, Saturday, or every day?
Friday and Saturday, but we can do every day if need be. I mean, we're not usually busy on those other days. But with COVID right now, you have to keep it to a max, well, every day it switches, so I can't even tell you right now. I mean, it just got kicked back from the 25% again, so. But I wrote on my action plan 25 people, period. Whether it goes up or down. You know, if it goes down, we'll adhere to that. But if it goes up, we'll still adhere to the 25.
Okay.
So
Okay,
any
that
further
covers my
questions? We can, would you guys like to go in closed session?
Yeah,
That's how
I'd
I'd
like to go into closed session if you guys have any more follow-ups, or are we fine to do that? Okay, thank you, Ms. Nichols.
Yeah, I read the, for the agenda, file number 2020-036. The committee may convene in closed session pursuant for the provisions of WI State Statutes, Section 19851A and G, for the purpose.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt. So this is for 0536 and 0537,
Yeah, that's
correct?
right, yeah,
Okay.
for Z bar.
Okay, but you're doing it for both, you're going into closed session for both?
Yeah, for both of them.
I'm just making sure that was clear for the record. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, go ahead.
Yeah, for both of them. So can I continue then, or?
Just wait. Just hold tight for a second, I'll talk to you in a second.
Yeah.
We should get that one too, Nick, for the record.
Sorry.
Come on, Nick.
Do you want me to read it real quick?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
So for agenda file number 2020-0536 and 0537, the committee may convene in closed session pursuant to the provisions of Wisconsin State Statute Sections 19.851A and G for the purpose of deliberating concerning a case which was the subject of any quasi-judicial hearing and conferring with the city attorney who will render oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted with respect to litigation in which the city is or is likely to become involved. This committee may reconvene in open session after completion of the closed session to consider the balance of this agenda. That is again for the Z's Bar and for Minto LLC.
We need to go off air.
Yeah,